It's finally happened. GGG finally released information on the threshold jewel for Infernal Cry, the one that makes attacks do more damage with Ignite. This threshold jewel is called Divine Inferno, and with at least 40 strength and radius, Combust is disabled, and attacks exerted by Infernal Cry deal 57% more damage with Ignite. And to be honest, that's a little bit more damage than I was expecting from GGG. I thought we were going to get some piddly 20% or 30% more damage to Ignite, which would have done absolutely nothing for attack-based Ignite builds. And to be honest, I'm not so sure 57% more damage really does much for attack-based Ignite builds either. So let's talk about that a little bit. One thing that I think a lot of melee attack builds will have trouble utilizing is Elemental Overload, or the reworked version of Elemental Overload, that is. And that's because most melee attack skills that you would use for Ignite are going to attack very slowly. You know, think things like Ice Crash, maybe Earthquake, possibly Consecrated Path, I don't know. But you're not typically scaling attack speed in these builds. And why is that a problem? Well, it's a problem because you need to have some sort of base crit chance that's high enough to consistently proc Elemental Overload. And on top of that, you also need to have some sort of accuracy rating too. And because the majority of Ignite builds don't really want to invest into crit outside of just getting enough to proc EO, you're never really going to have enough to consistently get it because of the lower attack speed that these skills usually have. So honestly, this new jewel just kind of takes the place of Elemental Overload. Of course, you could just get some investment into crit and then just hope you proc EO every so often, but I feel like the damage would be pretty inconsistent. Maybe in boss fights, it only matters that it can come up every once in a while just so you can get some big hits here and there. Because I mean, let's face it, if you're map clearing, you're probably not going to need EO anyway. So yeah, the new EO is pretty bad for melee attack Ignite builds, so maybe that's why they introduced this jewel to begin with. But either way, let's talk about the new EE. And not really the new mechanics of the new EE, but just the position on the tree. The position on the tree is all the way across from Elementalist, which really isn't a huge deal because Elementalist can get a lot of access to things like exposure in other ways. But seeing as how 99% of Ignite-based builds are Elementalists, and having EE across the tree is a little frustrating, it's not really the end of the world. But if you're playing something like a chieftain, on the other hand, it's kind of nice that it's over here, because now you can just path over here, grab elemental equilibrium, and then just path down here for this little cluster of Ignite and fire damage over time. But when it comes to an attack-based Ignite chieftain build, there's one thing that I think you should really keep in mind, and that is trying to figure out how you're going to get 100% conversion if you're using like a physical skill. Because yeah, you could just get 50% physical damage converted on the tree in your ascendancy, and then just path over to Avatar of Fire. But the problem with grabbing Avatar of Fire is you won't deal any other damage besides fire damage. Which means if you wanted to take advantage of elemental equilibrium, you couldn't really do that anymore. So you need to figure out a better way to take advantage of EE and still get 100% fire or fizz to fire conversion. And yet again, this is just one of the many reasons why Elementalist just wins out in general when it comes to Ignite based builds. Just the fact that all of your hits can Ignite with Elementalist is amazing. Plus, since all of your hits Ignite, it kind of means you can just stack whatever damage you want, which is another luxury that a lot of other classes don't have. I think it's a little sad that the Mirage Warrior that gets procced from your Tahoa Ascendancy on Chieftain doesn't proc exerted attacks, because if it did, then you could do some things like snapshotting where you just run up and smack the boss, proc Tahoa, maybe get Nagahamu Flames Advance at the same time and get some like massive ignites all in just one hit. Sounds interesting in theory, but I don't think it's possible because I'm pretty sure that these Mirage Warriors can't benefit from exerted attacks. But yeah, guys, this Infernal Jewel is something that I was really looking forward to, and it might be something that I play around with later on in the league. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this jewel, and if you have any cool ideas, I would love to hear them. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later!